What would you do if you just woke up one day and you started hearing voices in your head? And these voices were telling you something super disturbing. They were telling you that you had a brain tumor and they were being relentless about this. And I'm not saying that it's like your internal monologue or anything like that. I mean like an actual voice in your head telling you this information. The story I'm about to tell you is true, and it was even published in the British Medical Journal. To this day, it still baffles people as to why this happened, and there's just no explanation. Hi, my name's Yasmin, and I make videos about stories that are either scary or disturbing or just unexplained. They will always be true stories, and if you'd like to, then please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and I'll get on with the rest of it. Also, please let me know in the comments if there are any types of videos that you would like to see of this sort of scary or disturbing genre. So back in 1984, a perfectly healthy stay-at-home mum was in her early 40s, and she'd just tucked her kids to bed and she finally had the night to herself. She started reading a book at home, and like any other night, she was sitting in her comfy chair and everything was pretty eventless, when all of a sudden, out of the blue, nothing triggered this. She heard a voice in her head. And this wasn't just any old voice. It was a pretty audible voice that she definitely heard, and it changed the course of her entire life. The voice said, "Please don't be afraid. I know it must be shocking for you to hear me speaking to you like this, but this is the easiest way I could think of. My friend and I used to work at the Royal Children's Hospital in Great Ormond Street, and we would like to help you." Now, she'd never heard of this hospital in her life. She'd never even been there before. Now, I do just want to mention that she has never ever had any major illnesses. That includes physical or mental illnesses, and neither did anyone in her household. She actually had no reason to be stressed in her life at this stage, and things were pretty routine for her at the moment. In fact, she rarely went to her doctor, and her children were healthy. Everything in her life was stable. Just as she thought the voices were about to go away, they actually came back, and she actually heard 3 separate pieces of information as proof, essentially, that they were real and not just a hallucination that she'd made up. With the pieces of information that were given to her, the woman actually had no access to finding out the answers to that information at that time, but later on she found out that all of the things that this voice had told her was true, and there was no way that this voice would have known, or that the woman would have known, because she'd never experienced these things before. But all these sentences being true really didn't give her any sort of comfort. She just got freaked out even more. In fact, she got so worried about it that she made an appointment to see her GP or her doctor the very next day, who immediately referred her to a psychiatrist, because it sounded like she was developing auditory hallucinations. Also, by the way, the psychiatrist that she got referred to is still practicing in the UK for the NHS to this day. The psychiatrist saw her for the initial consultation and he was like, "Yep, this sounds like an auditory hallucination." So he prescribed her some antipsychotics, and the voices actually went away for a couple of weeks. Now, during this time, the woman and her family had planned to leave London to go on a holiday for a couple of weeks, and this was perfect timing. The voices were gone, everything was seemingly back to normal. Until, when she was on holiday, they came back, and this time they were even more specific, and they were instructing her to do things. They told her specifically that she had an inflamed brainstem that was caused by a brain tumor, and that she needed to get a CT scan. This was obviously super alarming and caused her a lot of stress. She couldn't really enjoy the rest of her holiday, and she even had a chat with her husband, and she was like, I can't really go through with this holiday. I have to go back home and get this brain scan done. Her family was starting to think that she was actually developing these delusions too, because she was actually listening to what the voices were saying. They gave her the benefit of the doubt, so they went back to London and she immediately saw her psychiatrist again. This time when the psychiatrist saw her, he believed that she was starting to develop delusions, just like what her family were thinking. But just out of reassurance, he ordered some CT scans as well, just to show her that this was a delusion and it wasn't something real going on in her body. It was just these voices telling her, which is very common with people who do have psychosis. So in other words, there was actually no medical reason that the doctor was doing a CT scan. It was purely just to put her mind at ease and to confirm to her that this was a delusion that she was starting to develop. The scan was eventually done, and to everyone's utter disbelief, it revealed a large brain tumour. And the brain tumour wasn't just anywhere in her brain, it was compressing her brainstem, just like what the voices told her. When the doctors saw the CT scan results, I think everyone was shocked, including the psychiatrist. Basically, when the doctors saw the brain tumour, they gave her two options, but they recommended the first option. The first option was that she immediately has surgery to get this brain tumour removed because it could be life-threatening. The second option was that they were going to watch and wait, but eventually she would probably have to have surgery for it. She chose to go for the surgery immediately. Once she'd made this decision, she said that the voices came and they just told her that she's making the right decision. They were just like positively reinforcing her the entire time. So they wheeled her into theatre and she had the tumour removed successfully. During her recovery, when she'd woken up, the voices came back one last time and they said, "We're pleased to have helped you. Goodbye." She was actually taken off the antipsychotics after this, and she never ever heard the voices ever again in her entire life. She actually went on after surgery to live a very normal life, and she didn't really have any complications from the surgery, never had any mental illnesses pop up after this incident. It was all just one big anomaly. If you found that interesting, then please subscribe. I post videos like this every single week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!